All right, this is Tony Sweet, and I'm with the one and only Captain Nimron.
Well, it says Captain Ron under Tony and Tony Sweet under
I've
Captain
always
Ron.
wanted
so
to be you, Captain Ron.
I guess
so.
because I see that you just wrote that on there.
I
Very
just
professional show.
I just don't have your hair. That's what
the
I'm
only-
always looking for. But we are here with a great guest, and I think most of you may have seen her or heard her, I guess, on Coast to Coast, and she's been on many other shows and that I've listened to her on, and that's the reason I wanted to have her on the show. We have Susan Masino on, and I'm really curious, and we're going to get started with this question for her, but I want to tell a little bit more about who she is. She started actually as a rock journalist, which I find it fascinating how you go from rock journalist to the paranormal. But maybe there's a correlation, and we'll have to find out about that. But Susan, she worked on projects with the well-known rock bands. You might have heard of them, Van Halen, maybe AC/DC. There's a few that you might know. They were just an up-and-coming band back in the day. But her fifth book, Secrets of the Universe, where she dives into her long life and lifelong passion of spirituality and paranormal side of life. So I'm excited to have her here with us. So Susan Masino, you're with us right here on Truth Be Told. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, no, please. It's our honor to have you on the show. And like I said, you started in rock journalism. And I'm curious to find out, how did you switch from that to paranormal, or is there some correlation between the two?
Oh, there's a lot of correlation between the two. I've been in the music business most of my life. My parents own venues, hotels, restaurants, so I always had live music. And I went into writing about rock and roll because I wanted to be part of it, but I was not a performer or anything. And when you really get into rock and roll and the history behind it, there's a lot of supernatural stuff that goes along with it.
Oh, I'm sure. And I tell people all the time, my family, we're big believers of paranormal. Like, that's how I think I really got into the paranormal world and the fascination of it. Now, did you, as a young child, I know your fascination, but did you have experiences growing up with paranormal?
I did. My grandmother, in particular, told us when we were really little, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it, but she told us that her mother, after she had passed away, came back to her in her bedroom one night and said goodbye to her.
Oh.
And she, believed that. She never told weird stories that weren't true, so I completely believed her. And that started a lifelong passion for me to figure out, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Can anybody come back and forth? And when is she going to show up again?
Well, this is your fifth book, and I believe, and I could be wrong, but this is your first book on the paranormal. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So
I originally wrote it 5 years ago, and now this is a new revision of it.
So why did it take you this long to write a book about paranormal? Because your main focus had been rock and roll for so long.
I think I always wanted to do it. I've always been fascinated with the supernatural and the paranormal, but I was in between book deals. And the first version of this book actually got written between the Hank Williams book and the AC/DC FAQ book.
It's funny how diverse that is. I mean, it's just like so polar opposite,
And listen, I know we're going to get started with Captain Ron here because this is we've talked about this with several people.
Oh yeah, she covers a lot of different topics in this area.
Yes.
And I noticed going over the list there that you hit on my favorite topic, which is synchronicity. Can you speak to your opinion on synchronicity?
I love synchronicity.
Me too.
I think that once you get into it and you see the signs, you start picking up things. It's a great way to guide you. It's like your inner intuition. I believe that the universe shows you little signs if you're doing, if you're going in the right direction.
Is that what you think that means? I always want to ask, what do you think it really means?
Right.
You think that's like our spirit guide telling us, or whoever telling us we're going the right way?
It's an interesting question because it's either we're creating it by thinking about it, and then we bring it into our reality, or that is the way of the universe kind of giving you the signs that, you're doing the right thing at the right time, that you're on your path.
The synchronicities I have are extremely obscure, that there's no way that could have happened.
I want to hear about it.
Well, no, I mean, I want to talk about you, but I mean, when it's so obscure, like there's no way, it's not like I was Googling buying tires and then I saw an ad for tires. It's nothing like that. It's like, I'll have some weird conversation with Tony, and then, the next day I meet that person or whatever. So it's so, the odds are astronomical, in my opinion, that such a coincidence and connection could occur. So I wonder, it feels to me, this is the only thing in this world, because I'm very skeptical of a lot of the things we talk about on this show. This is the one that I feel compelled to admit that it genuinely happens to me.
Yes. Well, the universal laws that I chose to put in my book also, that, kind of goes along with synchronicity, there are 11 of them. There's lists like 20, 30 different, everybody's got their own version. And the ones that I chose correlate to the real world with help from my daughter, Clarissa, who is a forensic psychologist. Oh. But synchronicity in itself it's fascinating, and it's happened to me so many times that I had to write about it at some point. Like you said, there's no other way to explain it. It's totally, something that you'd never ever expect to happen.
Exactly. So it feels to me more than chance. It can't just be random. It can't be chance. There must be something behind it. It feels that way deep down, that there's something else going on, unexplainable to me.
Well, absolutely, and that's the fun part.
It is fun. It is fun.
The weirder, the better.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious, when you say the universe, the secrets of the universe and universal laws, how does one begin to even study that or research that? Because I mean, I'm just an average person on the street. How would I even understand how to
from
begin?
The waist up?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, universal laws are God laws, if you will, not man-made laws. Mm-hmm. And you can do a lot of reading about it. As I said, there's all kinds of lists of, some people say there's 10, some say there's 20. I found a list of 33, and they're all, they're all a great thing to study. The law of attraction, the law of karma or cause and effect, that sort of thing. The law of balance. There's so many things that once you start studying it can help you. You can use it to guide your own life.
You just said another one there, karma. That's another one that's interesting. What are your thoughts on karma specifically?
Well, I've learned, I think, that karma, somebody explained to me this way. Let's say you're running for the bus and you knock a little old lady down trying to get on the bus.
Tony.
Okay. That was an accident and you have incurred no karma. But if you shoved her out of the way and knocked her down, you just incurred a little karma.
And when does that come back to get you? Is it in this life, or does that not come till after we pass?
I think it depends on what you did, but I know I've seen instant karma, as John Lennon would say. I've seen that a lot.
Interesting.
And one thing you said, when you studied the laws, why did you choose the 33, the master number?
Oh, there is a list of 33. I chose 11 to write about.
Oh, okay.
But those are all master numbers too, 11, 22, 33, and 44.
She's also into numerology, Tony. Did you know that?
I do know she's a numerologist.
What number are you?
My numbers?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they change because with my my birth certificate name, my path of destiny is a 33-6, which John Lennon actually had that same path of destiny, and 33 is the Christ consciousness number.
Right.
And that vibration can be lived as a world leader or as a 6, which is more of a homebody.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a little bit of both. I'm also an ordained minister, according to the internet. So in case you need to get married,
Most
let me
diverse
know.
person I've ever met. I also shoot skeet left-handed.
Yeah.
Blindfolded.
But it's just it all intertwines everything that we do and say, and especially if you learn the laws of the universe, and synchronicity goes right along with that. It's amazing. It's almost kind of like you're taking more control of your own destiny by being aware of what you were meant to do while you're here.
Is that the
And
idea?
that's what numbers tell you.
Is that the idea? We're supposed to like go over these laws in order to help us with our daily lives. Is that the idea? Because you're aware of them.
I think so. And it's funny, I was going to say too, with my married name Masino, my path to destiny number is a 13-4, which is the death card. And death in tarot means transformation. And it is true with my life since I've been a Masino, which is my married name, that I have done everything. I've been an author, paranormal researcher, biographer. I did radio for 7 years. So every time I, kind of think I'm in doing something, I totally end up doing something different.
Chainsaw juggling. I saw that in here.
Chainsaw juggling. That's funny. I know. There's a lot of people like myself that I probably think everybody. As we go through life, we get older. We start seeing the kind of the truth of life, and things don't really mean to us as they did as a child or a young person. But the synchronicity and the manifestation, it still is a struggle for people that of any age. And in your research, in your study, in your path, how did you personally start to influence your life through like manifestations and learning through synchronicity?
I think it was a process for me because I started studying life after death, those types of subjects when I was in middle school. So by the time I grew up, I figured I'm very good about projecting what I want to have happen and then figuring out a way to get there, which is not, it's different because you can wish all day that you're going to win the lottery, and some people do.
Right.
But I believe that if you want to learn how to manifest, you do also have to know what physical steps it's going to take to achieve that. So it's not, all magical. It's a lot of what you're thinking, your thoughts, your speech, who you share your dreams with, and how your attitude. You have to have the belief that you can do it, or nothing else can help you.
Interesting, Josh. You thinks about the after death thing as a child. I didn't think of that till I was 40. I didn't really embrace that or think about that like we talk about it now.
Right.
Well,
it fascinated me, scared me, but fascinated me.
It scared me, right? That's more what I would have felt. Yeah.
I'm trying to think like I said, when you say thinking positive, creating, the world you want or the life you want. Some people are going to go, how does my thinking like I'm going to be a millionaire going to get me to be a millionaire if I'm working at McDonald's? It's like how do you feel that changes the direction of your life or open the doors that are there to create the world that you want? How does just being positive? Why can't just an angry person, man, woman, still achieve that?
Well, it is a challenge, and it's a daily process for me and anyone else that wants to manifest. You have to project positive thoughts, and you can't do that 24/7. It's almost impossible to do that. But I'm actually talking to a person next week that wrote a book called Manifest Math 101. And he's figured out that if you can think positively 68% of the time, that's what it takes to manifest according to his math. Which means, you have to be aware of what you talk about, because a lot of people, me included, will complain a lot. And then they can't figure out why things aren't going their way.
Right.
And it comes right down to, well, all you do is complain. So what do you expect to have, what result is that going to bring you? So it makes you more mindful of how you speak and what you think in your own head.
This speaks to that secret thing of believing what you want to achieve and have it come to you, kind of a thing.
Yes. Well, I've even given a speech to a 5th grade class about this. When I was a kid, when I was in grade school, I loved biographies. I read every one I could get my hands on. And my goal was to figure out how they made their dreams come true. And after reading for years about everybody, we're talking Amelia Earhart to Lou Gehrig to Ben Franklin to Abraham Lincoln, and they all had one thing in common. And it wasn't perseverance, it wasn't intelligence, none of that. It came down to one word: belief.
Wow.
They all believed that they could do it.
Interesting. How great that she did this as a kid. I was a underachiever, I guess. A late bloomer. Jeez, oh man, that's so fantastic.
Well, I'm curious also because just recently, 2.5 months ago, my mother passed away, and one thing that really drew me to you and your book, and when I heard you on Coast, is the past lives. Because I know my mother, and mother and child, there's people that, they get along with their parents. Some of them don't get along with their parents. But my mom and I always had this very close bond that I felt like we definitely were like mother, father, whatever.
In the previous.
In a previous life.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
How-
She might have been you might have been her mother or father in another life too.
I think it was because I was almost like her father in this life also. So
Really?
Yeah, and I think it just that life just extended to this one, even though that she gave birth to me. So where did your passion begin on this? Because have you done your own past life regressions or research for your own? Because that's always fascinating to find out how you did it.
Well, it's weird for me because when I was little, like, grade school,
Right.
little, I used to have out-of-body experiences when I went to bed at night, and I didn't understand what they were until I was much older. But I was always trying to figure out, what happens after you die? I mean, is there really a hell and a heaven? And do we really have angels looking over us and all of that? So I was always, I read everything I could to the point of, not being able to turn the lights off at night when you went to bed because
Right.
I would be so scared. But it was a fascinating journey for me. And every time that I've decided to do something in my life, I've pretty much achieved it. And I know that it's because I believe in it. And I believe that we have people on the other side, like your mom is watching over you, I'm sure,
Right.
as mine is. And we have spirit guides and guardian angels. And all we have to do is ask, because that's another law. You have free will. They do not have permission to interfere with your life, but they do have permission to help if you ask them. So I highly encourage people to ask for guidance because it's there.
Now, so Tony and I have had people on recently about near death and regression and all these things. Do you feel that we have the soul groups where there's like 15 or 20 of us souls that come back down? And like you said, he could have been the mother in a previous life to your mother, and that we're still have the same group of souls together. Do you feel that same way?
Yes.
You do.
Oh yeah, soul groups. Yes.
Yes.
Because you know what it's like when you meet somebody that you've never met in your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're just like,
Sure.
where have you been all my life?
Sure.
That connection. So yeah, it's your tribe. It's your soul group.
It's interesting how people like yourself that we've had on here. This is all new to me up until a few years ago. I've never heard of such a thing, and you guys speak so matter of factly, like, well, yeah, of course I wear a baseball cap. It's sunny out. Like it's just like normal, and it's just like you take it for granted. Like you strongly believe that, obviously.
Well, when I was little, I knew I had been here before. I don't know what form it was, but I knew I had been here before because I was angry about something one time when I was really little. I was in my bedroom and I was angry about something. And I shook my fist at the ceiling and I yelled, "I'm not coming back again. I mean it. This is the last time."
This
say
is
that
a
every day.
fascinating child. I mean,
I
she's
know.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
So weird there.
advanced.
Yeah. Like weird.
Now, are you intuitive? Are you a psychic?
I'm an empath.
An
I
empath.
can pick up things. I do remote viewing, which I love to do.
Oh,
I'm not an expert
no.
at it, but I love trying my hand at it. I have found some stuff for people, so that's kind of fun.
So is that? Yeah, I was going to say, what experiences have you had as a remote viewer? What? Give us an example of like one of the best remote views that you've personally done.
Well, it's not, it's not groundbreaking or anything, but one night my daughter in California had gone to a party at this big house, and they had put their purses on the kitchen counter, and at the end of the party, the purses had disappeared. And she called me the next day because they had ripped the house apart, they went through the garbage, they did everything, and they were ready to cancel all their cards and, do what they had to do because the purses were gone. And she called me kind of a last ditch effort, and I said, okay. And it has to be like, I don't want to know anything beforehand, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So don't give me a lot of details. And I said, okay, how many stories in the house that you were in? It was a 2-story house. I said, where were the purses the last time you saw them? And she said they were on the kitchen counter in the kitchen. And I just went into that kitchen in my mind. I saw the purses in a cupboard.
Have you been in that home? Had you been in that home ever?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Had you ever been inside that home?
Oh God, no.
Okay, so you're just imagining what you think the kitchen is because you didn't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
I'm just going in my own mind, and I saw them in a cupboard. And she said they've searched all over. I said, well, they didn't look hard enough. You need to go back and go through the cupboards. And she called me about an hour later, just, she was screaming. She's like, how do you do that? And I said, did you find them? And sure enough, they were tucked away into a cupboard after they went in to cook some stuff for the party, and they tucked them away into a cupboard.
Now that qualifies. That's fantastic. That's not like mother's intuition. Well, maybe that's you doing that work. That's fantastic.
I love doing stuff like that. If it works, it's really cool.
Now, did you study this, or did you just read a book and do it on your own?
At 2 years old.
Kind of just knew about it. I listened to Major Ed Dames, when he's on Coast to Coast. Yeah. And I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to be able to help find people, which would be amazing, if you could use it for that. And I know he does a lot of work with that.
They have crazy stories of things they've been able to do. Like he supposedly has seen stuff on Mars or whatever. I mean, they do incredible things like that. It's amazing. But something like what you just did was a practical, real use of it. I like that. That's kind of cool.
And
it's crazy when it works,
Right.
It's doesn't always work.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But when it does, it's so cool.
Why do you, I ask this all the time, is why do you think when we come down, because, there's some people that are an atheist or people that just think we die, we get buried, we go to dust and that's it. Why do you feel when we come down to this earth, I believe it's a school, but why do you think we forget about so many things about the other side? Couldn't we learn so much more if we knew why we were here from the start so we can work on that? Why do you think we have to go through so much and learn so many things
starting over?
Yeah. Again, why do you think that is?
Well, my own personal theory of creation is God was bored, okay? First was, and they wanted to manifest souls. Mm-hmm. And your soul, when it's first manifested, has to go through, this is just my theory, by the way, has to go through a lot of lifetimes, some not as many as others, to be able to be at the level of the Creator, which is pure love, pure compassion, and unconditional about everything. And it takes a lot of lifetimes. And what's hard about being in the material world is usually we don't learn a lot unless they're hard lessons or they're not very fun. Those are the ones that, really forged us into who we become.
I mean, because I've heard just recently there was an article about why does God allow diseases, wars, so much suffering, hunger, and loss of children, torturing of other human beings, and people on earth where we just go, it doesn't make sense. I want to believe in God. I want to believe in the afterlife. But again, why do we have to go through so much? I mean, if as a kid, when we touch a stove, the parents slap your hand, say, don't do that. But here, as adults and even kids, it's like, we have to go through so much just to learn one life lesson. And some people, like you say, they win the lottery, and it seems like their life is perfect in our eyes. It's never perfect in their life.
Right.
But, people that constantly, they feel like they struggle and struggle and struggle. Not enough money, not enough food. Constantly from the time you're born to the time you die, you're alone. So do you think some people come to this life a little easier than others? Or do you think everybody has their own suffering at the same quality or same level?
It's absolutely individual, very personal. And I think that each lifetime, when you pass through transition out of your body, and you're between lifetimes, let's put it that way.
Right.
You're the one that decides, and your spirit guides, I believe, help you decide what you need to go back to learn. And again, some people don't need as many lifetimes as others, unfortunately. But it's not easy. I mean, being in the three-dimensional world, and, I say the same thing, what God would do this, what God would allow all this suffering. And then when you really get down to it, we are doing it. God's not doing this. We are. We're the ones that allow the suffering. We're the ones that allow people to be homeless.
True.
So God expects us to step up. That's what I'm hoping for.
Do you think the people, especially people nowadays, do you think we expect God to be the overprotective parent? Do you think this generation, or I hate to say this, this
the old man now.
Yeah, the old man. But I feel like in the 1700s, 1600s, I mean, life was not good because they didn't have any medicine for diseases. They didn't have the laws that we have now. Back then, women were treated like pretty much farm animals were treated better than women. So I feel like maybe we do. We think God should be our overprotective parent now.
Yeah, it's easy to blame God, and as I say, I look at God as an energy of positive love that creates life. The dark side is negative energy that destroys life, and we have to have that to exist. When you really look at the makeup of the material world, we have to have positive and negative energy to even manifest material objects, which goes into quantum physics and all of that. Right. But it's sad for me to see that we have the capability right now to end hunger, to end homelessness, to end the wars. We have this capability, but we choose not to do it.
You're right. You're right. And I mean, positive, negative energy create so much. And I think sometimes through our hardest times in life, even with my mother passing away, and I know, Ron, your father, sometimes it's our hardest moments, but it does create us better. I think it makes us stronger. It makes us remember who our parents, what they gave us, good and bad. We start looking at ourselves.
You certainly have a different perspective immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And on our own mortality.
Yep. Oh God.
You instantly feel that, which is so weird.
I'm next.
Right. I hate. It's just like you're in that long line, and now you're in the front. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you gave a great example of the remote viewing. I understand you've also gone on some of these ghost adventures. Why don't you?
Oh my God, yes.
Give us one of these examples of one of the great ghost adventures you've had personally.
Oh, well, I'll tell you one. I won't tell you how bad it was, but I got very sick when I went to Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky. It's right outside Cincinnati. And I got hooked up, actually. I have to give a shout out to Tamara Gleason and Dawnette Cook. They're Mystic Sisters that work out of Osseo, Wisconsin. And they're the ones that kind of took me under their wing. And we started traveling. We did some conventions with the Unexplained research team in Wisconsin. We went to Deadwood, South Dakota. We've done Gettysburg. And when we went to Bobby Mackey's, that was kind of in the beginning of my, my tutorial on what to do in a haunted place.
Well, that's supposed to be the most haunted nightclub in America.
Yes, and some call it the gates of hell. So, great place to go. I was warned not to go. I had a lot of people call me and email me and say, you can't go to that place. You can't. And I didn't take it seriously. I was skeptical at that time. This was back 8 years ago in early 2010 when we went there. And I was skeptical, I'm like, oh, come on, it's a bar. How bad could it be, right?
Right. I would not be afraid of that.
I would be like,
and
that was a beer.
Right. I'm just going to walk in here. Yeah, I wouldn't think that.
Yeah, it was really cool. We had we met up with Shannon and Jeff Sylvia, who used to be on Ghost Hunters International. Keith Age was there. Dawnette and Tamara. We all met with a ghost hunting team from the East Coast. And we were live on the internet. It was really exciting. And the night before we went there to do the ghost hunt, we met for a meet and greet, just have some drinks and meet everybody. And I didn't think about protecting myself when I walked into the club. And
why would you?
Yeah, I was going to say, who would even think about that?
I would never think of that.
Well, the girls I were with knew better because they're Reiki masters and they know how to protect themselves. And now I'm better at it. Where you have, you have a light that emanates from you, and that is your protection. And I didn't use mine that night. I didn't even think about it. So we walked into the club. It was 4 of us, their cousin Chad, Dawnette, Tamara, and myself. And as we walked in the night before the ghost hunt, we walked in and we walked to the part where the dance floor starts. And all 4 of us stopped because the room spun just once. It felt like it spun. And we all stopped. And as I looked at my friends, and they looked at me like, it was really funny because my girlfriend was saying to me, Tamara was looking at me saying, did you just feel that? And to me, she was speaking in slow motion because whatever it was went right through me.
Oh, wow.
And I felt like I'd been slimed, like in the Ghostbusters movie. It was very weird. I mean,
wow.
I just like, ooh, I turned around. I'm like, oh my God, somebody just walked through me. It just really freaked me out, but I didn't take it very seriously, which I should have. Because the next day, that night we had a good time. No big deal. Everybody had a good time. The next day, we met there again at night. We broke off into about 6 groups of 5. So there was probably like 30 people. They had to turn the heat off, so we could record without any noise in the background. So it was cold. It was dark. It was uncomfortable. And the biggest thing that night that really happened to somebody in the physical is that they were provoking in the basement of this club, which I don't like provoking at all.
What does that mean?
You're really,
Provoking.
you're knocking on a door that you don't want to open, okay?
Like
And they were provoking in the basement, and a gentleman actually got pinned up against the wall by something he couldn't see.
Oh.
And he ran out of the place in tears.
That would be Ron.
Again, I'm like, okay, well, it didn't happen to me. Sorry,
Right.
but, I still didn't take it that seriously. And we went back to the hotel that night at the end of the night, and we all 4 ate at the same place. We all ate the same food. We all went to bed, and I woke up about 5:30 in the morning with profuse purging, if you will. And that lasted until they literally put me in the car and drove me back to Wisconsin, which took 7 hours. And it continued for 2 more days until I ended up in the ER.
Wow.
So I think it was a psychic poisoning. I know it's happened to other ghost hunters before.
Wait, you're
And
attributing your illness to a ghost?
something, it was, all I know is that it was unbelievable. Doctors tested me for everything. There was nothing wrong with me. I didn't have anything. There was not even a white blood cell count. Nothing. There was nothing to show that I was dehydrated and that I had been purging for 3 days nonstop.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I was poisoned.
Now, what?
And
Poisoned by a
Zach
ghost?
Fagan, he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess so. But I've never heard of being poisoned by a ghost.
Maybe
That's
poison.
Yeah, psychically.
Psychically
Yeah.
poisoned. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But what makes this nightclub? Because I'm seeing it's still open as a nightclub. What makes it so haunted, and why do people even still go there to have a fun night? I mean, drinking and stuff like. Yeah, anything can happen. Because when you drink, I'm sure you're more vulnerable.
Oh yeah, your defenses are down, but there's so many layers at that establishment. It goes all the way back to the Native Americans, and then there was the Underground Railroad, which between that was it was a slaughterhouse in the late 1800s.
Wow.
The building was a slaughterhouse.
Wow.
And then it was the Latin Quarter in the 50s, I'd say 40s and 50s, and that's where I think they're mobsters, they were, tied to that. And then you also had a murder that happened, I believe, in the 1890s. This girl, her name was Pearl Bryant, and she was murdered by her boyfriend. It's a messy story, but they
Was she poisoned?
decapitated her. And they threw her head down the well that's in the basement of Bobby Mackey's.
Wow.
And I'm showing a picture of her. You can't see it, but I'm showing a picture of her right now.
That's what I'm looking at, yeah.
That's crazy.
He has a picture of the girl that was murdered there. And that was way back in the 1800s?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers there,
Interesting.
Because I've always wanted to go on a ghost hunt. I think that's fascinating. Like I said, I've told this many times. I saw a ghost when I was a kid.
He's going to tell it again, though.
Yeah. So just sit tight and I'll tell you the whole story. No, I used to see an old man in my house, but I just find it fascinating when other people go hunt for them, and I really want to go. And I think we should do that.
We should do it like a live. We should do one of these Halloween things. We'll bring one of these witches on, and
go and because when you say Gettysburg, you would think Gettysburg would be with that many thousands of people dying. You think that would be the most haunted place and most.
Well, we've had
place.
people on our show where they talk, where they see the guy keep going by, and he keeps going by, like he's trapped there or whatever they say.
But to go to, you think, like you said, go to a bar, you're like, what the?
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Yeah, that would be the one place I would not think. But now, when you went to Gettysburg, did you see any spirits, or did you see any orbs or anything there?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, like of course.
Yeah, of course, Tony.
Of course. If you want to see or have activity happen to you, go to Gettysburg.
Interesting.
Guaranteed.
Wow, that's strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would suggest that you stay at the Farnsworth House.
Barnsworth.
That has amazing hauntings. It still stands from the Civil War. And we stayed there. A friend and I stayed at the Farnsworth for a night after we went through the battlefield. And the battlefield, to me, was after we walked around for 2 to 3 hours, Devil's Den, Little Round Top, Little Big Top, all that stuff. And after a while, to me, I started getting to me where I couldn't breathe very well. And then I could taste blood in my mouth, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm done.
I said, do you keep going on ghost hunts? If you feel sick to your stomach and you vomit and you have this blood in your mouth, I'd stop going. Right?
Oh yeah, no, I ghost hunt a lot, believe me, but it didn't get me sick. But we did go back to the Farnsworth that night, and we went on a ghost tour of that house. And that house is where the snipers used to lay down in the attic of this house and shoot soldiers from the attic. And that's where the bullet that killed Jenny Wade, the first female civilian that was killed in the Civil War, that bullet came from the Farnsworth House. And they told us, they gave us this, little tour, and we sat in the attic. And she said during the tour, she said, a lot of people hear soldiers walk at night in the attic, so you will hear footsteps on your ceiling. Don't be scared if you hear that. I'm up for everything.
I guess so.
And my friend had to stay in the Sara Black room. Don't do that. I stayed in Jeremy's room.
That's your room.
Yeah, don't stay in the Sara Black room. I stayed in Jeremy's room, which I'm sitting in the ghost tour, and one of the ladies says, who's staying in Jeremy's room tonight? And I'm like, me. And she's like, oh, well, and she starts telling the story about how it used to be an open air porch. During the Civil War, 2 men were shot dead on that porch, and one was almost decapitated by the bullet.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then they enclosed it and painted it blue and put in a nice bed and a lot of toys and made it Jeremy's room, because Jeremy was a little boy who was hit and killed by a horse and carriage. And he died in the bathroom of the Sara Black room. So my friend stayed in the Sara Black room that night, and he stayed up all night because all he could hear, he has it on tape too, people walking in the attic above his head. And then he could feel somebody walking around his bed, which is the father of the little boy that died. And everybody has experienced his energy there. I stayed in Jeremy's room, and I took pictures of everything. It's a pretty room, but I was really tired. I went right to sleep. I dreamed that I was playing with a little boy, which I kind of thought I was dreaming about my son when he was little. And that morning I got woken up by these kids. There was a little girl and a little boy. I could hear them talking, and they were running up and down the halls, and they were slamming doors and everything. And it was sunny outside, and I'm laying there going, please go outside. I want to sleep. Please go outside. And after I checked out and we went downstairs, I asked about the kids. And the lady laughed and she says, oh, you heard Jeremy and Sissy. And I said, Jeremy and Sissy? And she's like, yeah, that's Jeremy's room. They're the ghost children. Everybody hears them. There were no kids staying in the inn that night.
Wow.
So
that's pretty interesting.
Lots of stuff going on.
I think you should go.
Go to Gettysburg.
I just want to see Ron in Sarah's room.
In a diaper.
Yeah, he'll have to go to bed with the diaper on.
Absolutely. Now, with all this,
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but my friend didn't sleep at all that night, and he's the one that told me that we would see activity. So I told him the next day, I'm like, there were soldiers upstairs. What's your problem? I would have slept through it.
I could just see Ron wake up the next day and said, Tony, did you come in and cuddle with me last night? And be like, no.
Again? All right, so if you've studied all these laws of the universe and stuff, let me ask you this, Scott, too, on Truth Be Told. Right. What is your take on the aliens coming to Earth?
They have been coming to Earth for centuries, I believe. I believe that we are crossbred with people from not this planet. I believe that it's a universal thing. I believe that there are aliens on this planet, and people don't, there's a lot of UFO sightings, and some can be our government and some can't. And the amazing thing too, the crop circles. Not every crop circle is made by 2 guys in a board in the middle of the night in England. It's just not possible. So I believe very much in UFOs and alien activity.
Interesting.
We feel the same way.
We're certainly open to it. Absolutely, yeah. Certainly some of it. Again, it's not all like Friedman always said, is that, I don't care about the ones that are government planes or whatever. Right. It's that one that's driven by a guy from somewhere else.
Right.
That's the one that matters.
Right.
Because some things just doesn't make sense of how certain things were built, how we evolved so quickly, and so that for us, that's why we do what we do, because we want to find the truth, and
That's right.
hopefully before we become another past life, we will find out the truth.
I hope so.
But before we go, do you have anything coming up that people can, any speaking or conferences or anything that you're going to be at?
Not yet. No, I'm hoping to do more of that this year, though, and I'm always online. You can find me online, and all my books are on Amazon. And I love questions, because I'm always learning.
Oh, that's why we do what we do.
That's exactly right. That's our whole goal here. That's why we come here every week.
All right. Well, you can go to Susan Masino, and that's Masino if you're on our podcast. Go to SusanMasino.com. Go to Amazon, pick up all her books, and not just the Secret of the Universe, but you can also get her
rock and roll books.
books. And one of these days we'll have to have you come back and tell us about your experience on the as a, I don't know if you were a groupie or you just love to.
I wish I was.
Me too.
I'd have a good divorce settlement by now.
Oh,
okay?
right.
No.
Let me apologize for Tony right now before we sign off here.
Well, I did call somebody 90-some years old, and they was only like 70 before. So anyway, in that case, we're going to let you go. But thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you. I mean, this was fun. I had a good time.
Absolutely.
Oh, I did too. Anytime, guys. Call me anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, this is Truth Be Told. I'm Tony Sweet. It doesn't say underneath us, but and Captain Ron.
Oh, wait. Who's on that side?
You're on
this
that side. Yes. There we go.
Okay.
I'm the one with the black hair. But go to our website, truthbetoldworldwide.com, and thank you guys for tuning in to us on YouTube Live. We really appreciate it. We're glad that you leave comments. And again, we love you guys and hope to see you next week right here on Truth Be Told. All right. See you then. Bye.